Are you happy with your state of health? This seemingly simple question serves as a basis for the quality of life in general. Do we like our reflection in the mirror? How do we respond to events? What makes us happy or sad? Hormones are behind the answers to these questions. There are several thousand hormones. In order to feel empowered and energetic, it is important to have a certain ratio of hormones in the blood. Any deviation from the norm, elevated level of hormones or lack of them, causes serious disorders in the body, which can sometimes be fatal.
All right, Masha, look, the front looks wonderful, but dresses today are created for typical sizes, unfortunately, despite the fact that the front looks amazing. The back is not so great. Okay. It is literally one size smaller, and I think that we really shall adjust the waist a little. Yeah, and then virtually any dress will fit nicely.
Maria, 35 years old, a resident of Moscow and sales manager. She is getting married in a few months. Her future husband lives in another city, and their meetings are extremely rare. Maria really wants to lose extra weight before the wedding. The girl is not happy with her reflection in the mirror, but she cannot lose weight, however hard she tries.
I started gaining weight much more easily, but losing it is already a problem. Earlier, it was enough just to go to the gym and go in for sports. Now, it's not. I have to keep to a diet. If I let it loose a little, the weight starts increasing immediately, and it is much more difficult to lose it now than it was at the age of 25, for example.
Doctors would also agree with Maria. This is not a secret that with age, the metabolism of the body slows down. It is not necessarily associated with dietary mistakes or a sedentary lifestyle. Often, as with Maria, extra weight is the result of hormonal disorders. In the overwhelming majority of cases, deficiency of hormones and certain other factors make us gain weight, because if we estimate how much we eat at one age or another, we will see that we used to eat much more when we were younger. But the point is that we had time to spend it all, and in order to spend it, we need certain internal stimuli, which are basically hormones, many hormones, not just the sex ones. How is it possible to make the body burn more calories? In order to understand it, we need to calculate our basic metabolism, the amount of energy the body spends at rest. It is calculated by a special formula. The formula of basic metabolism for the state of rest. Maria's weight is 73 kilograms. Height 1.70 m, age 35 years. Let's insert the values into the formula. Almost 1,500 large calories. This is roughly what the girl's body needs to function properly. Now we find the necessary coefficient of activity and multiply the obtained value by it. 1.2 for sedentary lifestyle, 1.375 for light activity, light workouts 1 to 3 times a week. 1.55 for moderate activity, intensive workouts 3 to 5 times a week. 1.725 for increased activity, intensive workouts 6 to 7 times a week. Maria's level of activity is low. Therefore, we multiply the obtained value by 1.2. We got 1,800 calories. This is exactly how much she can consume per day and lose a little weight. If she increases the level of activity, the losses will be even greater. She needs to lose literally 5 to 6 kilos in a month. Such result can be achieved, but the key factor will not be the workout or training process, but the diet above all things. The diet has to be altered radically. This includes the reduction of salt, the reduction of carbohydrates, and the reduction of animal fat. And of course, it will be necessary to add workouts with an emphasis on aerobic loads.
It is a proven fact that the metabolism of a grown person decreased by 2% every 10 years. That is, our eating habits actually don't change in the direction of decrease with age. We acquire new habits. Sometimes we even consume more energy while starting to move much less. There is a hormonal pathology that predisposes us to eating more food, and the appetite changes in the direction of increase. And this pathology is associated with a relatively small number of diseases.
If your weight doesn't decrease regardless of the efforts of coaches and nutritionists, there is a ground for suspecting hypothyroidism, a disease of the thyroid glands. In order to exclude it, it is necessary to check blood sample for thyroid-stimulating hormone, TSH. If its level is elevated, there are violations in the work of the thyroid gland. In this case, no diet will help you control the weight. Moreover, hypothyroidism is associated with other unpleasant symptoms, increased anxiety, depression, and a feeling of extreme fatigue. If a person is diagnosed with certain hormonal disorders, it is a priority to consult the endocrinologist. This is because a person can work out in a gym and do everything correctly, eat properly, train properly, weigh food, measure the heart rate at the treadmill or anywhere else. However, the person won't be able to achieve an objectively good result simply due to the problems with hormonal system. The thyroid-stimulating hormone is produced by the pituitary gland. If the function of the thyroid gland is reduced, that is, it doesn't produce the necessary number of hormones, the pituitary gland demands the thyroid gland to work harder. To compensate for this, the thyroid gland starts increasing in size in order for its cells to produce more substances that are important for the body. But why does the body weight increase during this? The thing is that the main function of the thyroid gland is to increase normal rate of biochemical reactions occurring in the body. If the gland fails to produce the sufficient number of hormones due to some reasons, the metabolism is slowed down. With express hypothyroidism, it becomes like a turtle, lazy, heavy, and slow. This, unfortunately, leads to complications. A vivid example of untreated hypothyroidism is Nadezhda Krupskaya, Lenin's wife. From her young age, she suffered from unpleasant symptoms: goiter, swelling, thin hair, obesity, a classic appearance at the advanced stage of hypothyroidism. By the way, this disease leads to persistent infertility, and Nadezhda Krupskaya loved children a lot. It wasn't known before how to treat thyroid diseases. Fortunately, today it is no longer a problem.
It can be linked to the pituitary gland and so on, but if this disorder is detected and inadequate hormone therapy is prescribed, that is, the level of these hormones is normalized, the problem of excess weight is also solved. Through the dietary therapy, of course, but these phenomena can easily be cured and eliminated. Hello, Masha. Tell me, what is bothering you? It has become difficult for me to lose weight. Moreover, I feel certain fatigue and can't always find strength and desire to go in for sports. The condition of the skin has deteriorated. I didn't have problems with it before, but now, as you can see, it got worse and my hair lost color.
Maria has passed all the necessary examinations, and now the doctors can see what the girl's low metabolism is connected to. Fortunately, the hypothyroidism diagnosis hasn't been confirmed, but there are other factors that affect the general state of health and cause discontent with one's own appearance. Maria has slightly reduced levels of female hormones, estrogens, and testosterone. Scientists used to think that sets of hormones are significantly different in men and women. Androgens, such as testosterone, were traditionally considered as male hormones, while estrogens were attributed to female ones. Today, science has proven every one of us needs to have both kinds of hormones, but in different proportions. If we talk about the body parameters, the lack of hormones gradually makes us lose muscle tissue and gain fatty tissue. In most cases, the fat is located disproportionately in our body, causing abdominal obesity, the most unfavorable type of obesity. Testosterone is responsible for our sexual drive, energy, physical strength, and metabolism. Today, testosterone is considered the main hormone responsible for the burning of fats in the body. Testosterone is very important for women. Why? Because women, just like men, also have muscle tissue. Testosterone is the main anabolic hormone with respect to the muscle tissue. That is, it sustains the strength and volume of the muscle tissue. Accordingly, in the absence of testosterone, a woman is incapable of adequately tolerating physical loads.
Every hormone has external manifestations, the ones that can be seen on the skin. For example, dryness of the skin, appearance of the first wrinkles, which are obvious not just for that person, but for the people around. It is connected, for example, to the reduced level of estrogens.
But the main culprit of the girl's extra weight is insulin, a hormone of the pancreas. Its main function consists in sustaining a safe and stable level of glucose in the body in order to make a person vigorous and energetic. The excess of insulin leads to instant absorption of sugar, but all energy cannot be used, and a part of it produces fatty tissue, after which the so-called hypoglycemia occurs. Hypoglycemia is a lack of glucose, followed by an unreasonable feeling of hunger, which forces us to open the fridge more and more.
Concerning abdominal obesity, there is an entirely different hormone at work, insulin. It is the only hormone, the amount of which is increased with age. And the increase in the insulin leads to accumulation to formation of a great amount of fatty tissue.
In the late 1980s, the international medical community started talking about the metabolic syndrome for the first time. It was the name given to a complex metabolic disorder, a precursor of diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. This syndrome has several symptoms: obesity in the waist area, physicians call it abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, and the so-called insulin resistance, the insensitivity of cells to insulin, when the glucose entering the body cannot be absorbed. How does it happen? Let's take a glass of sweet soda. It contains 5 spoons of sugar. If we drink 3 such glasses per day, the pancreas is forced each time to throw more insulin than usual into the bloodstream. It always happens when we're over the top with carbohydrates. The body gradually loses sensitivity to insulin, and the carbohydrates no longer bring sufficient energy. It is insulin that helps transport glucose through cell membranes. When it is not recognized, the carbohydrate metabolism is violated and glucose turns into fat. Everything a person eats is saved for later.
The carbohydrates are accumulated in greater amounts than required for your body. When there is a greater accumulation of them in the body, the fatty tissue is formed. And the level of estrogens starts to decrease after the age of 35. There are a lot of articles proving that the estrogen level is reduced. That is, it is only starting at the moment, and it contributes to even greater accumulation of the fatty tissue.
Through evolution, the insulin resistance gene is embedded in each of us. It helped our ancestors adjust to the harsh conditions of life, when people had to starve for a long time waiting for food. Now, when a human has turned from a getter into a consumer, it is no longer necessary to store energy for future use, but the habit for the food that contains many carbohydrates and calories have been formed over the years of civilization. If a person knows that their body is prone to economical spending of energy, if a person knows that every extra calorie will most likely turn into fat due to their constitution, they should control their food habits from a young age. Thus, they will protect themselves from developing various genetic programs in them. That is, a person can prevent the development of diabetes, even though the predisposition to diabetes of the second type can be 100% in this person. Metabolic syndrome, or the so-called first stage of diabetes, is a reversible condition. Scientists have conducted an experiment. For the experiment, over 300 people with the express metabolic syndrome were selected. The subjects were offered to eat and live according to a special health-improving program for 5 years. After the end of the experiment, the signs of insulin resistance disappeared in almost half of the volunteers. The rest of the subjects admitted that they had violated the program from time to time. As a result, by the end of the experiment, 1/3 of those who had violated the rules had all symptoms of the second-type diabetes. Masha, in order to lose weight, you need to do aerobics. That is, you need to jog for 45 minutes every day. But that's not enough. In order to lose weight, you also need to train your muscles. Why? On the one hand, the training of muscles significantly increases calorie consumption. On the other hand, you will not just lose weight, but you'll also build your body. Maria decided to seriously take on her appearance, reducing the risk of diabetes at the same time. Fractional meals, workouts 3 times a week, and a light hormone replacement therapy in order to support the body. The girl knows that this program is not a temporary thing. She will have to lead such a life forever.
The perfect way of losing weight is to change your eating mode, not to keep to a diet. It is necessary to change the system and understand that there will be certain limitations, perhaps for the rest of your life. But you have to accept it, and that is 50% of it will be healthy food, and the other 50% sports or active lifestyle, because one is impossible without the other.
When studying the problem of excess weight, scientists have come to the conclusion it is difficult to defeat a fat cell, especially if the excess weight has already caused disorders in metabolic processes. According to the research data, adipocytes, fat cells, are twice as aggressive in fat people. That is, they store fat more actively than in people with normal physique. This means that the higher percentage of fat a person has, the faster this person gains extra weight.
It is important to distinguish the feeling of hunger from appetite. The feeling of hunger is suppressed quite quickly within 20 minutes from the beginning of a meal. It is irrelevant how large the meal was. We can eat a 300-millimeter bowl of soup for 20 minutes and feel satiation. Or we can eat a pile of different things over those 20 minutes. For example, visit a fast food restaurant and receive a huge number of calories, but we will only feel satiation after 20 minutes in any case. If we eat a bowl of soup, for example, and we still want to eat something else after 20 minutes, this is already not hunger, but appetite. And the combination of these disorders is what is called the violation of the eating behavior. When there is no hunger, but the appetite is increased, and the person constantly feels the need to eat something, as a rule, the choice turns next to the products that are always at hand and don't require cooking.
The feeling of satiety in our body is controlled by leptin. This hormone was discovered not quite long ago. In 1994, it sends a signal to the brain indicating that we are sated and that it's time to finish the meal. This hormone is produced by the fat cells, the very cells that we are trying to deprive of the stored fat through diets and physical exercises on our way to the perfect figure. Losing the stored fat, the cells begin to produce less leptin. The brain perceives it as a danger since the level of hormone is low. The exhaustion is coming. The brain orders the brain to eat more and consume more calories. After a meal, the fat cells return the leptin production to the normal level, and the brain relaxes. The food has been received, and the hungry times are postponed. And here's the paradox. The more obese the person is, the more sated their fat cells are, and the more leptin their body contains. Therefore, the appetite should be decreasing, but this doesn't happen. It turns out that at a certain point, when leptin overcomes a certain individual level, the brain receptors become insensitive to it, and the brain is constantly lacking satiation.
The thing is that the so-called resistance to leptin is formed. That is the cells with which leptin shall interact, and that shall respond and send signals to the brain, indicating that it is time to reduce appetite. Are not sensitive to leptin, the sensitivity is lost.
What can be done? Are the obese people forever destined to live with excess weight? Can the leptin production be brought back to normal levels? Recently, an interesting study has been conducted in the clinic of the Institute of Nutrition. The researchers decided to check the connection between the level of leptin and obesity. What is primary? Is excess weight caused by the excess level of leptin? Or does the increase in the leptin production lead to obesity? The verdict was unequivocal. The fatter a person is, the more leptin is produced by their fat cells. Gradual reduction of the weight forces the brain to restore adequate response to the amount of leptin in the fatty tissue.
It would seem that the elevated level of this hormone should send signals to the brain that it's time to reduce the appetite and moderate the eating behavior. However, in fact, it doesn't happen, and the level of leptin decreases in proportion to the reduction of excess fat mass. It demonstrates clearly that leptin is still a consequence of appearance of excess fat mass.
Another recently discovered hormone, ghrelin, is responsible for excess weight. It is produced in the stomach right after the food is digested. The more stretched your stomach is, the more the area of its mucosa is, and the more ghrelin it produces. This very hormone drives us to the fridge in the night and pushes us to break any diet when we try to eat less.
And this hormone can sometimes function incorrectly. That is, the level of this hormone has been proven to be able to increase after eating sweet food, for example. There was the feeling of hunger. The person eats something sweet, and the feeling of hunger shall be suppressed. Instead, it is suppressed only for a brief period of time, and then the feeling of hunger emerges anew.
So how can we avoid the hormonal disharmony? The answer is simple. Keep your weight normal throughout your whole life. Avoid excess and take annual tests for certain hormones in order to adjust the perfect ratio. As long as a woman's ovaries function, they provide a powerful protection from a wide range of diseases, from osteoporosis, heart attacks, and strokes, and various oncological diseases. This list can be very long. The practice of creating a so-called hormonal passport is becoming common in Western European countries. Healthy men and women at the age of 25 check the whole list of hormones. The values are recorded in a special passport. Throughout the person's life, doctors will be able to monitor the situation and adjust the hormonal status depending on the ideal initial ratios.
This would be an ideal world. You could look at the level of hormones at the age of 25, when a person feels great, and try to maintain it throughout the whole life.
However, there's nothing to keep our young people maintaining their own hormonal passport, starting at the age of 25. But even if the time is gone, finding your own hormonal balance is possible at any age.
We've balanced the hormones that lead to accumulation of burning of fat and have given certain recommendations concerning nutrition. It's been a month. How are you feeling? What can you say? My state of health has improved. I've been following your recommendations, and I can say that I have more energy now, more strength and desire for physical exercises. My food is light and balanced. As a result, I've lost at least one size. That is, my clothes became a bit too big.
It's been a month. Maria is very happy with the result. She still engages in sports and keeps to the recommended diet, and her coveted dress fits her perfectly now.
Masha, look. Now it's completely different. Now any dress fits you. It all looks really good. It's great. My congratulations. Thank you.
Every woman strives to remain attractive and young forever. Beauty is 50% genetics and 50% state of health. Today, scientists are sure the hormonal orchestra dominates many aspects of our lives. Hormones control almost all processes in our body, and it is possible for us to maintain their level if healthy food and physical activity will become the lifestyle of a modern person.